Hey there, Jared Jones, broker of Jones Group Real Estate, and you're almost there. We're passing the home inspection as we speak, and you might have already gotten the call that the appraiser is on his way, especially if you occupy the property. So let me tell you this next crucial step about it and how it goes, okay? Now, the actual appraisal is a site visit. It's another realtor, licensed person who has a key, an e-key if you need to let them have access without actually being at the property. It's a 20-30 minute quick site visit that you do not have to be home for. We don't have to be there either because if there's any issue with value, I'm going to tell you how it actually works out. But the lender orders this individual to come by, take some interior photos, actually go around the property, measure, and do things of that nature. Okay. And if you live in the property, you do not have to have it like show ready. Now, you don't want it to look bad, but it's not the same as having a buyer over. You're there. If you're in the property when they're there, they're going to walk around, do some measurements. A surveyor will come over about this time too. Separate visit. Sometimes you do not know that they're coming. The title company should be telling people, but I'm hearing a lot of times that the surveyor is like, oh, I'll just go to the property and measure the outside border. And sometimes people just know they were there, but they never, knock or anything like that. They just walk around the outside border of your property and they're all done. But that's a side point. The appraisal is going to end up being a 15, 20 page report that happens at the end. And one of the things I want to share with you is that sometimes, particularly in an increasing market, if it's a rapidly appreciating market, sometimes the appraisal can be a challenge, okay? Now, in the event that there's an appraisal value issue, 90% of the time, they call the agent before they finish the report. So I get a call and I'm alerted, hey, look, we're having a challenge with this value. We can't get it. Or we want you to look at it, give us some comps and give us some comparison information that, how you arrived at this. And so we do that. But let's say that for all intents and purpose, they still disagree that the value is the sale price. Now, there's a few steps we're going to walk through, okay? Number one, we're going to say to the buyer, well, you agreed to pay the price. The appraisal is your concern. We want you to buy the home and pay the value difference on your own. They may object to that. Okay, so if that's a deal killer, one of the other things we're going to do kind of laterally is see if there's any issues with the report that we can possibly have the report revised. So that's the next thing. So sometimes with our best efforts of trying to renegotiate the appraisal, trying to get the buyer to pay as much as we need them to pay, a third option often comes in where we actually get a different appraisal report done. So I want you to understand that the appraisal can come in low in a climbing market. So if you have a market that's rapidly appreciating, bidding wars, all that kind of stuff, that becomes an issue out of the gates. When you understand the nature of an appraisal is an appraiser is creating a report justifying value based on the past. Think about that. What did they sell for a month ago? Well, in a rapidly appreciating market where it's gone up 1.5%, 2% since then, someone might have paid several thousand more dollars than the last house in all the history of the neighborhood. So that becomes a challenge because the appraiser wants to cover his license and not put a risky number out there that gets rejected by the bank and all this kind of stuff. And so he doesn't want to, upset the lender and have to rework his report. So there's a little bit of protectionism on the appraiser that brings these reports in a little bit lower. And that's basically how this works. But don't despair. We will get through it. And we will negotiate on your behalf to make sure the best outcome is seen on your side of the table. So let me tell you this. After the appraisal is complete, ratified, done, and we move on, one thing I want to share with you is that at this point, you are at high odds that you're going to close without any issues. I mean, you're at 90% odds at this point, okay? So, the things that we talked about in the past about how to prep for the closing, don't pack up too many things. That is you're at a point now where if you need to put deposits down to move into something else, if you need to firm up moving plans, if you need to pack and make a plan, then you're good to do that. So let me walk through exactly what you need to know from here out on planning to move. Let's say that your closing date is a Thursday. In that event, you want to have everything on the moving truck by noon the day before. That is the latest. I mean, you want to be shutting the truck door by noon. And then theoretically, you want the cleaners in around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Why? Because sometimes the property's walkthrough for the buyer takes place the evening before the closing. And sometimes it happens on closing morning. But what you do not want to do, you do not want to pass the stroke of midnight on closing day having stuff in the house, like car loads and, oh, I just got to get one more thing. Don't do that. You want to have everything on the truck drop dead noon, day prior to closing. If you want to stay in sleeping bags on the last night, you can do that. I recommend most people make yourselves comfortable and put yourself in a position where you can stay at like a fully furnished resort. There's a ton of them around Kissimmee, stuff like that, where you have a nice sleep, jump out of the bed, jump in your moving truck, go to title, and then unload at the new place if you're closing back to back. But don't be in a position where, listen, hear me on this. At walkthrough, if the buyer shows up to your house on the day of close or the night of close and they see stuff and they see a lot of, like they're like looking at like, there's no way this house will be clear, and there's a bunch of debris on the side of the house, and there's all this, that can run potential for you to breach contract, because the contract says that you're going to leave the property in what's called broom swept condition. That means all your physical items have to be gone or the buyer doesn't have to close on your house. That's crazy, right? So you cannot run into closing day like, oh, the closing morning, I'm gonna have the truck there at 6 a.m. and then 11 o'clock or 12 noon, they're still loading the truck. It doesn't work that way. You want everything out minimum. This is the absolute minimum that you can do. If you want to be out sooner, you can, but really it's about 12 noon. You want to have the last piece, boom, on the truck, door shut, clean the house. Now, how do you clean the house? Give it to someone else the way you'd want to receive it. This can become a problem for a lot of people. Obviously, take care of other people the way that you'd want to be cared for as it relates to cleaning the house, the drawers. Don't hide stuff. Like, people are going to check everything. So don't leave food in the pantries and stuff in the drawers. Get everything out, okay? And also, you can't leave stuff by the curb that can't be picked up by the garbage man. So if you leave stuff that's just not going to be able to be picked up, that's going to become a problem on the 11th hour. And you don't want to be stressing yourself out further by trying to solve those kinds of problems at the last minute. All right, that's it. We're almost there. I want to share with you, as always, that if you know anybody looking to buy or sell, please refer us. Man, we are trying to hit a home run for you so that we get the opportunity to have you refer us to friends and family as we go. If there's anything I can do to assist you, my team, please reach out to us. We want to make sure this stays smooth all the way through the closing process for you, and have a fantastic day.